It's time to ride some dragons and shout at people till their heads explode in the 38th version of the same game that came out 7 years ago. But now it's in VR. Skyrim VR. Actually, it's the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim VR. But whatever. Skyrim VR is a direct port of a game you've probably already played, though now it's in glorious VR. Does that make it worth your time and money is the question I'm hoping to answer here. The base game of Skyrim probably needs no introduction, but I'll give you a quick rundown anyway. Ultimately in Skyrim you play an exile of sorts, thrown into a land of magic, war, dragons, high adventure, and lots of arrows to the knee. That joke's probably not relevant anymore. It's an open world game where you can pretty much walk around and do whatever the hell you want to do. Join different factions, become a thief, become a hero, become a mage, follow the main story quest, don't follow the main story quest, go hunt some dragons, go kill some dragons, go join some dragons, go ride some dragons. Lots of dragons overall, and do lots and lots of varied quests. Skyrim as a game is fantastic. It has a rich, interesting world with more stuff to do than you most likely will ever have time to do. But it's got a little something for everybody. And Skyrim VR, much like its Fallout 4 VR cousin, is the full original game, just now in VR form. This game is not dumbed down in any way. It is still just as beautiful as it was. And in VR, it is incredibly immersive. When walking around the wilderness, or a castle, or a city, you feel like you're really there. It is pretty damn amazing. And the icing on the cake, like many VR experiences, is the motion controls. Being able to swing your sword and actually hit something, or aim your bow, or aim your magic with your actual hands instead of an on-screen cursor and hitting a button is extremely immersive and makes you feel like a medieval badass. The game controls great. It's extremely similar in control to Fallout 4 VR, so if you've played that, you'll feel at home. And speaking of controls, I played this on a Samsung Odyssey, which the controller has a joystick and a trackpad. The Vive only has the trackpad, albeit a bigger trackpad. I still stick to, if given the opportunity between a trackpad and a thumbstick to control a character in a game, a thumbstick wins every time. While I'm sure the trackpad works well with the Vive, seeing as how it's your only option, in my opinion, nothing can ever be better than a thumbstick. And thankfully here in Skyrim, they utilize it to its fullest. Thumbsticks! So it controls great, it looks great, and overall as a game, it plays great. I don't feel like I need to dive into a full Skyrim review, because there's tons of those out there, and most people that are watching this have probably played Skyrim and know what it's all about. You're more interested in what's going on with the VR side of things. I really enjoyed my time back in Skyrim. When I originally played Skyrim, I played the living dog shit out of it. I maxed out pretty much every single stat. I played hundreds of hours. A ridiculous amount of my time was spent in this game. There wasn't much that I didn't see in Skyrim. So when coming back to Skyrim in VR, while I was excited, there was a part of me that was kind of hoping it was the next Elder Scrolls game that I was doing this with. That being said, I still had a fantastic time with it. And since it is so immersive, it is almost like playing a whole new game. But it can't be all unicorns and rainbows here. The game does have some issues. One of the first things you'll notice is the menus. They are the same menus from the original Skyrim. Those menus worked great in that 2D plane on the original Skyrim. In this one, not so much. There is a tremendous amount of drilling down. The menus have not been very streamlined for VR. They work, but it's just a lot of clicking and moving to get to what you're wanting to get to. And it was a lot less bothersome in that 2D plane with a controller. Here in VR, things react a little bit differently, and you don't really want to be doing all that to get to the menu or the thing that you're wanting to get to. So I really wish they had streamlined the menus a bit more. It seems like a minor gripe, but as much as you go into the menus in Skyrim, it becomes quite a slog pretty fast. It's manageable, but it shouldn't have to be. It is a pure Skyrim experience, I'll give it that. Secondly, there's the controls. I know, a minute ago I was talking about how great I thought the control was because of the thumbsticks and all that. And that part of it is. But the weapons in combat have a few things that take some getting used to. Mainly hit detection. If you're ever walking around with any type of weapon in your hand, you run the risk of hitting something or someone in the area. And not meaning to. You could be in a town just pointing at something and end up chopping somebody's arm off and pissing off the whole town just because you were trying to move a basket of fruit or something. This can get a little bit annoying. You learn to alter your playstyle when you're in areas like that, and it doesn't become as much of a problem. But once again, like the menus, you shouldn't have to. Putting up any weapons you have out does help the situation, but you still have your fists, and you do run the risk of punching somebody, and a similar situation happening. Not game breaking, but it can be an annoyance sometimes. Furthermore, there's melee combat. I really wish there was some type of hit detection as far as like when weapons hit. Lots of VR games do this to where your weapon just passes through everything and it detects when it hits the target. If you're fighting another character with a melee weapon, I think it would be really cool if you could block them with yours and they could block you with theirs. It does kind of ruin the illusion a bit when someone's holding a sword up and you swing at them and go straight through it and hit them. Once again, not game breaking, but I think the combat would be much more interesting if there was some type of weapon hit detection. Speaking of weapons, this one might only apply to Windows Mixed Reality users, and it's not the end of the world, but it does need to be mentioned, and that's archery. Archery in this game is really cool and it works great. However, if you're using a headset that uses inside-out tracking, like the mixed reality headsets do, you'll probably have to alter your technique a little bit when pulling the string back. It's not every time, but there are times that when you pull it back far enough and it gets right outside of the range of the cameras, it loses tracking for just a moment. It's not game-breaking, but it is just long enough to screw up your shot sometimes, which can be annoying. If your headset does use this kind of tracking, you'll probably find yourself just not pulling the string back as far, which does kind of suck sometimes because the more natural way is to pull it back towards your ear. But it's not the end of the world, and it still works. Beyond those few things, the only other negative I can say about Skyrim is that you've probably already played this. And as popular as the game was, you've probably already played this game a lot. And while I still think it'd be a really good time and great fun, there's not going to be a lot of surprises here. It is the same exact game, so don't expect anything new from a content stance. The experience will definitely be new, exciting, and fresh, but from content, you know what to expect, so don't expect anything new there. That being said, even though the game is 7 years old, it is still just as great as it was 7 years ago. The game has aged very well, and when compared to its Fallout 4 VR cousin, it is a lot better optimized. The game just runs a lot smoother. None of those weird texture pop-up issues that Fallout 4 VR had. I mean, it's a Bethesda game, so it's gonna have its crazy glitches here and there, but the really cross-eye inducing glitches that Fallout 4 had here and there are not present here. And the game just overall is much smoother. Lastly, this isn't so much an issue with the game and more of a complaint. The shout system in the game works just like you remember it, unless you played on the Xbox 360 and used a Kinect. One of the cool features of playing it on the 360 with a Kinect was that you could verbally say the shouts and they would transpire on screen. Conventional wisdom told me I'd be able to do that in this version with the onboard mic on my headset. Poof! But no, it's nowhere to be seen. I don't really understand how they were able to do this 7 years ago with version 1 Kinect on Xbox 360, but they're unable to do it now with a much superior high-tech VR headset. I mean, it actually worked pretty damn good on the 360 too, so why can't they do that here? That would be awesome. But no, for whatever reason, we can't do that. We have to pick our shouts in a menu and hit them with a button. I know it seems like a nitpick, and that's why I put it as more of a complaint and not really an issue with the game. Overall though, Skyrim VR is a fantastic game. The immersion you'll feel here is unparalleled, as is the amount of gameplay here. This is the full Skyrim experience in VR. If you didn't like Skyrim originally, this probably isn't going to change your mind. It might be worth a try if you know somebody who has it, just to kind of experience the immersiveness of it all. But as far as buying it, it's the same game you didn't like then. But like a whole lot of other people, if you really enjoyed Skyrim, then I think you're going to love this. So Skyrim VR, is it worth your money? Yeah, but I'd say get it on sale. It doesn't have to be a deep sale, but the full price of $60 for ultimately a 7-year-old game rubs me a little wrong. It goes on sale for about $40 a lot. At $40, this game is a must-buy. If you didn't like Skyrim before, it's not going to change your mind. But for everybody else, pick it up, you won't regret it. So there it is, guys, my review of Skyrim VR. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time. Does he look like a bitch?